is the call, all the password for the account.
All right, started.
Right. There's public information that apparently that was the case. I don't. But again, so this is the last meeting of the year. Today we're going to talk about the P0wn OFF report. We have one of the writers and the main researcher of the report. We're also going to talk about the Hackmiami Conference. Can we go, please, to the Hackmiami here? So this should be changed soon. He hasn't changed it yet. So basically what we're going to have here is some text that says how to submit, basically via email, and what topics we're looking for. The topics that we're looking for it is offensive research. I'm thinking about starting to introduce something about resilience based on the latest things that had happened in the industry, because that's definitely something we need to pay attention now. A lot of research. You can do defense as well. So we always focus on basically botnet exploitation research. Last year we showed Dendroid, which was awesome, by the way. We actually called it before anybody else. So if you have that type of research, I would suggest you to submit. We're going to have a biohacking village. Biohacking village. Yeah.
You still doing that?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do a biohacking village so you can get your
input.
Yeah, they're going to have like the... No, you're not.
You can be ahead of the curve. Have your RFID
I got a
chip
vet who will
already.
do that for you.
What?
I got a vet who will do that for you.
Really? Okay. Well, that's an idea right there. So we're going to have the biohacking village. We're going to have the command and control. And we're going to have the command and capture, which is the new game. And obviously we're going to have a number of researchers that are going to submit. Hopefully we'll get some known faces. It's from May 15th to 17th. May 15th is the training. It's 1 day of training. One of the courses is mine. There will be other courses as well. The courses will comprise malware, reversing web application test, penetration introduction to penetration testing, which is the one that I do. And then maybe we'll pick and choose other courses as well. I'm sure we'll have parties and we'll bring our good friends. I wish Alex was here, but he's not, so there's no more I can tell you as of now. But at first we wanted to do this way ahead of the conference because obviously we want to get some good submissions, which we had, and this will be our number 3. Okay. Alright. So other events that are coming soon. We're gonna have a B-Size Tampa. B-Size Tampa will be running the CDF for B-Size Tampa. Then of course we have our good friends from B-Size Orlando, which promises to be even bigger this year.
B-Size from ISSA Tampa.
No, B-Size Tampa. B-Size Tampa. Huh? Yeah, this will be the second year for them.
That was Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Let's look it up. Sorry, let's look it up.
Sorry.
B-Size Tampa. It's gonna be in a museum, and the place where the CDF is gonna be has like a 3D projector. So apparently there's gonna be some good stuff going on. Let's see what we got. Yes. Here we go. February 21st. So here's actually the place was good.
You're going.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we had a crowd from Hackmiami B-Size Jacksonville, which was awesome, by the way. B-Size Jacksonville was pretty cool.
If you guys are interested in going to this event and maybe you don't feel like paying money to like get up there, what we could put together is like a passenger van that we did to go up to Jacksonville. If you're interested, just reach out to like Rod or myself or anybody for Hackmiami.
There's usually there's a carpool, somebody rents a van or something. And we had a good time. We always have a good time. We have a good time. We get to share with our fellows. And there's usually new things that we come up with and do. This is a one-day deal.
Yeah, maybe maybe we could get Evan to rent out the van again. We'll just do. I think it was like what, $40 a person,
Yeah, that was like 40.
Yeah, including the gas and the hotel room.
We got about like I think we got like 11.
Yeah, we had like
We did this before.
8 people in that car, in that van.
We did this before for the ISSA Tampa. The ISSA Tampa is coming back as well, but that's
How drunk
later
was that,
during the
man?
year.
It was pretty
I
big.
am going to publish.
Oh, how drunk.
Yeah.
Not bad, not strong.
No, actually, it's after DEFCON. I believe it's after DEFCON. I have 5 events that I'll be running Capture the Flags just in the beginning of the year. I'm already talking to other events as well for the later part of the year, but I can tell you that I'm going to be doing B-Sides Tampa. I'm going to be doing CDF at the St. Leo University. Then I'm going to be doing B-Sides Orlando. And then I'm going to be doing the Hackmiami Conference. So that right there is 4. There's one that I'm missing. I don't know which one is it, but I'll come back to it. All right, so you had an announcement that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, South Florida ISA is having our conference Friday, March 20th, all day at Signature Grand. We'll be putting out we don't have anything up on the website yet.
You have it?
Not yet. We're getting there. We're going to be putting out the couple papers and whatnot. Our theme is cloud computing. So anything that has relation to cloud computing, not just storage, but software as a service, infrastructure, and all that sort of stuff is fair game. We want be technical, be introductory, all the sort of topics. So if you want to present, please consider. If you want to come, please do. We're going to make the rate such that Hackmiami members are the same rate as
That's cool.
But certainly, please consider joining us. I do have brochures on our chapter and copies of our magazine. I've got more on my card. If you've never seen what our magazine that our organization puts out, I have some copies from October.
Excellent. So now you know March 20th. March 20th, we're going to have...
Yeah, it's not yet our
It just happened. How was the party? Was it good? Or?
Oh, yeah, we had a really good time.
Excellent. So remember that, mark it down, March 20th. It's going to be the, oh wow, you guys have new,
New leadership.
huh?
New leadership.
Well, some positions, still the freaking second.
No, look. You're the secretary now.
Well, I have been for the last 5 years.
Oh, look, Monica Dino's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, check it out. What Maggie's now part of the ISSA.
Yeah.
Well, that's... Please.
Yeah.
I'm watching this.
He's watching.
Hey, good job on me.
Our
Okay,
meetings
so...
are always Thursday, typically at Nova. We'll be so much better happen up in Boca. Come on, I've been doing one of our meetings.
Alright, so it's March 30th, and it will be at the Signature Grand. The last time you guys did it was actually pretty good. I was there, and there were some good talks, and got some good sponsors, I remember. So good. So we're going to keep promoting it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, is this February 21st, right?
March 20th.
March 20th, sorry.
It's a Friday.
Okay, yeah, we gotta put it down. Okay, perfect. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right, so would you like to step up and let us know while I set it up?
What you setting up? Which one?
I don't really have anything prepared, but I'll just talk about it.
All right, let me introduce you
To you two.
basically, what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna give you the results of the panel, and then eventually after the meeting, I would just tweet it and you can download it. Again, the premise of the panel is we have a number of applications. We've been doing this. We've done it 3 times. The first time was mostly infrastructure, penetration testing. The second time was web application. And this third time has been web application as well. We targeted popular CMS and what else did we do?
Yeah, I did CMS and PHP. I did basically all the main web
The
languages.
most popular
that
web
ASP,
applications.
so Java and PHP.
And basically what we're looking for here is to see when you are offered all these products, some of them are very expensive, some of them are affordable.
They boast nice features.
Right, they all
Lots of
boast
money.
about what they have and what they do. We just wanted to know how far you can get on a test if you don't know the product. All right, we want to know, every product will do the same if you know how to configure. Right, that's a norm of any market that is competitive. At one point, most products do exactly the same. If you change it or you configure it, it will do exactly the same. But in this case, we started from the default configuration, and we used virtual machines. The virtual machines were snapped every time we were going to test them. And what you're about to see is what we found. So I'm going to leave you with our main researcher here, and he did an awesome job, which is Mr. Aso.
All right, guys. So just to reiterate, kind of what Rod was talking about, I took 3 web applications each. 1 PHP, 1 Java, and 1 ASP web application. And just like he said, each one of the web application software scanners was ease of use. That means installation. If I was somebody who had no idea what I was doing with the tool and the first time rolling it out, and that was the case with 2 of the tools actually, I had no idea. I'd never used them before. So again, ease of use. We also rated on false positives, so how many false positives did that particular scanner pick up? I want to say, what was the other metrics? We did...
Reports?
Reporting was another one of the metrics that we used. And then, like accuracy towards which vulnerabilities were... No, that would have been false positives. Not length of time.
I have the document though.
Metric that I use.
We're about to show it.
But bottom line is, like Rod was saying, these, maybe you guys work for some security vendors, maybe not. This is not. I'm not trying to put your security vendors down or anything, but it's tough out there when you have to purchase a product and you have all these vendor claims like, hey, my tool can do this, 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 and this, and you don't want to buy something that you think it's going to do something, and then without proper training or without an extra license or something, you're not going to be able to do it. So my job was to reach out to the vendors, plead with them for their software. So, the process took me probably about 2 weeks to get everything set up, scanned, and everything ready to go. Like Rod said, what I did was whenever I set up the scanner on one box, the 3 machines that I had running, I'd individually snap them back after each vulnerability scan that I do so that they'd be preserved. I didn't use any hacked software. I didn't use any pirated copies. I used all legitimate software that came right from the vendors. And it was interesting for me because I'd never done anything like that before. But the way that I kind of looked at it was, it's kind of like if you were doing an unboxing or like a review of something, like a product that you're interested in. Maybe you got the PS4 and you're like, I want to do a review on this. So that's pretty much what it was, with a little bit more technical background to it, because obviously we have the reporting and we have the actual scan result in there.
How was it like when you were doing the test? Was it difficult to set them up? What was it?
Right. So I found that I did a HP Web Inspect was one of the ones that I was kind of excited about it because anybody in the room that knows me, I don't anymore, and I've gotten away from that stuff, and I don't really like GUI point click stuff. But I was excited to use it because this was one of these tools that it did have a GUI, it did have a front end, and a lot of people in the security community say that it's a pretty revered product. So I was excited. But the thing about it was the first installation I did of that product, I think it took me 45 minutes. And it's the software itself is not what takes forever. You have to install MySQL, and then you have to set up the MySQL database, and then it has to connect into your. At the end of the day, it was with HP Web Inspect, it was like an enterprise tool. It's something that you'd want to buy if you had a huge enterprise, and you likely plan to install that in maybe remote sites around, and you were going to do scanning, and then send all that scanning back to your SIEM. Found with the other scanners that I use, it was more personable. It was more like maybe I was an individual security researcher, and I had some money that I needed to spend on a tool, and I didn't need this huge infrastructure to roll it out. I could just suite it runs on Java. It's cross-platform. You can use it anywhere. It's very lightweight, super easy to use. So when I was comparing like ease of use and I guess ability to quickly, running on Java versus having to set up a MySQL database is obviously, obviously something that's a big. Yeah, you got it here. Cool. It's a big, hold you down. But if you're an enterprise and you had time to roll all this out and you wanted to set that up and you wanted to schedule these scans and you wanted to use it for its reporting capabilities, absolutely. Burp Suite lacked pretty hard on the reporting side as far as generating PCI compliance reports or vulnerability reports. They didn't have any of that stuff. HP Web Inspect took the cake on that stuff. And NetSparker I found, out of all of them, had the least amount of false positives, which is actually pretty interesting because when you talk about validity and accuracy within vulnerability scanning, that's a pretty big deal. So, they all had their strong suits, and they all kind of had some pain points that I felt like. And some of the vendors were kind of annoying. They kept reaching out and saying hey, when's your report done? When's your report done? And I was like, look, when my report's done, you'll know because we're going to release it and we'll show you. So it was cool that they were able to let us use the software to do that, but I don't know, when the vendors were kind of trying to nudge me a little harder for some of the results, I was kind of that would put a bad taste in my mouth because imagine if I had to deal with you as a customer too, and you're telling me, upgrade, or and I just feel like that's how they're gonna treat you as a customer. But anyway, so. The report's all here. It basically goes over everything I told you about. So here's the metrics that I talked about. We got the ease of the interface and installation, the accuracy of the vulnerability detection, the granularity of reporting, and then the overall quality would have been all of these things together. And then maybe if there was some feature that one offered that another one didn't offer. And then right here we talk about the scope of the actual assessment. And we talked about the targets. All the targets were virtual machines that were running some form of Debian Linux with an Apache server, and then the Apache server would have each of these different types of languages, web applications. And the web applications that I got were almost like everyday web applications that you'd see. I almost used the WordPress because WordPress is out there very often, but I found what's the PHP? I forget what the name of it was, but it was like this. You can index and share and all this stuff with the PHP application. So I try to use real world applications to not make it seem like this was a joke. And then obviously the types of vulnerabilities that we were testing for were all the way from what OWASP considers critical, 10 out of 10 vulnerabilities, all the way down to just something that would be considered informational as well. So you got your slew of cross-site scripting, SQL injection, line SQL injection, directory traversals, cross-site request forgeries, command injections, file inclusions, all the way down to informational. So if something were to give away, maybe a configuration file, that's the types of things that we were looking for. And then, like I said, each tool that we use, I mentioned the version. I mentioned how how difficult it was for the installation. I try to include some screenshots of what the interface would look like, and then some of the reporting as well. I think that as a takeaway from this, because like I said, I've never done a white paper before. And my research had always been maybe personal deliverable done. But what I say after this whole experience and the takeaway for me was that it was a great opportunity to get my name out there. Number one, because my name is on a white paper now, we're going to release this, and this is a document that has a lot of validity. As a matter of fact, last year's P0wn OFF report, it was quoted in the Hacker's Handbook. So we're hoping that maybe this year, some companies will look at it or some researchers will take a look at it and find it useful. It was a great learning experience for me. I basically, from a security standpoint, I got given free toys and I got told, go play with these toys and then, do some write-ups on it. So I didn't feel like it was a job to do this. And the last thing I felt like, if you're, if when the call for papers comes out, maybe you don't have an idea for research or you want to give back to the community, but you don't know how you can. Well, the fact that we offer, the P0wn OFF or, the villages, or you can volunteer, these are outlets for people that maybe, they haven't gotten up here and given presentations, or they haven't, they haven't felt like they've given enough back to the community. This is like a perfect way for you to, kind of do that. And I just feel like, it's a great opportunity. So next year, whenever Rod starts asking people for the P0wn OFF, I would implore some of you guys to try to like raise your hands this time. And the more people you get, the easier it's going to be. Like, I pretty much did all this by myself. I had help, but I had to reach out to all the vendors. I had to build the relationships with those people, and get all the software and set everything up, and then write all the technical results of the paperwork afterwards. So with a bigger team, a lot more people, it likely could be a lot easier, or it could be more difficult. Whatever, I don't know. So
tell us a little bit. Go back for a second. Tell us a little bit. Go back about the individual suites. What was your overall experience about it?
I mean, overall, I want to say that the winner of this particular P0wn OFF was Burke Suite, and just because, so based on the metrics that we were using, the only thing that I really felt Burke Suite was lacking was its reporting capabilities. What you can do with Burke Suite is you can export all of your scan results as an XML, and then you could likely import that into other tools to help you. But as far as reporting, it's not going to give you, compared to HP Web Inspector, they're going to give you this nice HTML document where you can click here and it'll be like, here's your vulnerability, here's where it is, here's a remediation that notion of if you have a vulnerability, how do we go about fixing that vulnerability?
Hey, because you guys wanted to make all the money last night.
NetSparker, like I said, NetSparker scanned the quickest and had the least amount of false positives. It had great reporting capabilities, and the installation was relatively quick. So I felt like, NetSparker kind of, as an individual security researcher, I felt like it was something that you could use as a tool. And if you were in a corporate environment or an enterprise, that'd be also a very likely choice. It's not too expensive, and it has the robust reporting capabilities as well. And then obviously HP Web Inspect, as you guys heard me say before, I just felt like it was very geared towards an enterprise environment. This is a scanner that you're going to set up to do monthly scans, and you're going to leave it, it's going to grind out and do all these scans and produce these beautiful reports for you. But this is not something that my buddy calls me up and he's like, hey, I just spun up this WordPress, can you hit it for me? I wouldn't use HP Web Inspect for that. I'd probably use Burke Suite or likely NetSparker for something like that. Is there any specific questions? I mean, I feel like I'm kind of just talking open. Yeah.
Are all of them dynamic? Can you do black box testing with them?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Can you please repeat the question so the ones that are watching?
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. So the question was, are all these tools ready for what's considered black box testing? And black box testing basically means you have no prior knowledge of the box before getting into it. And they in a black box test, they'll give you an IP address or they'll give you a host name, and that's it. They say, here you go, that's that's what you got. So all of these tools, from a web application standpoint, were able to, just with an IP, find out that there was a web application there. It was able to map it, and it was able to identify all the vulnerabilities. Every single one of them was able to do that right out of the box. So yeah, that was.
Was there anything that any of them were particularly better at on black box testing?
So the question was there any of them that was particularly better? And I felt like, so for me, a big thing was accuracy of a vulnerability scan. When you report that there's an SQL injection, and then you report that there's an SQL injection 10 times, and it's that one vulnerability, that's something as a researcher that kind of irks me. Because if I was doing it by hand, and I saw that it was the same parameter that was being exploited as a vulnerability, I wouldn't write it in my report that there was 10 vulnerabilities. I'd be like, there's one vulnerability, it's this variable that's not sanitizing your input. So, like I said, for NetSparker, not picking up on those multiple, seeing one vulnerability as multiple, I thought that was a great, I felt very high confidence level that I could just send that scan, generate a report, and be very confident without having to look over that report and fine tune it towards submitting it to somebody, to me. And then after that, I'd say Burke Suite kind of did the same. It had a couple that it did repeat, but even less so. And then HP Web Inspect was everything a million times over again. So that was kind of a little frustrating. But again, I mean, depending on the context, obviously would be where you'd want to use one over the other, I guess. Any other questions? No?
You want to move to anything specific about, for example, burn? Or let's go back to burp for a minute. What exactly, like what we're looking at right there?
Right. So the burp interface it's pretty simple, but it can get really complicated quickly if you're not familiar with it. So basically, you have this notion of all these tabs across the top of burp suite, and each one of those tabs is going to have a different function of what the actual what the scanner is going to do. You have your target pane, and inside of that target pane, you're going to have a list of everything that burp suite has found and mapped within the application. The proxy. So the way that burp suite works is that it's actually a web proxy. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your browser, you're going to have burp suite, and then you're going to have the web server that you're actually trying to hit. So you're going to forward all your traffic to the burp suite proxy, and then burp suite is going to look at, inspect the traffic, and then send that traffic out to the web server. And then the web server is then going to respond back to that traffic, and it's going to hit burp suite. Burp suite is going to do some analysis on that, and then send it back to the browser. So that whole tab right there would have been all of the options that you can configure for how your proxy is set up and what does your proxy do for you. So what's really, really neat about burp suite, all three tools supported using proxies beyond the tool itself. But burp suite being a proxy itself, the fact that you can chain multiple proxies with burp suite, I thought was a great tool or a great feature as well. So for instance, if there was a Tor website or a hidden website on a darknet, and I had to access it through a particular proxy, you can use burp suite to chain that proxy, and then you can likely look inside of those darknets, even though even though it'd be like an extra hoop that you had to jump into. So I feel like burp suite makes that pretty easy. The spidering function on burp suite is really badass. I'd say on par with Dirtbuster, and I mean everybody here probably familiar with Dirtbuster, just really solid directory.
I have a quick question for you that probably covers all of that. Was there a difference between the pre-off and post-off?
You know,
I can't even sleep on your shoulder.
Yes.
Sleep on my back.
Yes. There was obviously a lot more vulnerabilities post-off than pre-off. In all of my web applications.
Do you want to explain what pre and
Sure.
post is to the ones who don't know?
Yeah. So so the question is, was there a difference between pre-authentication scanning and post-authentication scanning? So what that means is, from the eyes of a web application security individual, you always want to look at your web application from just what you'd consider just the internet or just like the general population without authenticating. So I haven't put any credentials in. I haven't done anything to modify my access on this particular web application. So, like I said, you always want to do both. You want to do one where you have no credentials at all, and you want to do one where you do have credentials. And actually, I'm happy that you brought that up, because something that each one of these tools did that kind of makes your life a little bit easier is they'll have a macro where inside of the application, it'll have like this sort of cheesy browser that you'll use, and you'll navigate to the web application, and then you'll put in your username and your password, and you'll hit submit. And what the application will do is it will record that process of happening, and then every time it would have to authenticate to the web application, it has that macro ready to go to throw in those credentials and authenticate to the web application. So likely on some of them, like HP Web Inspect, every time it was doing a scan, it would drop credentials and then use that macro to log in and do it again, which is actually kind of interesting because you don't have your cookie is not modified beyond your authentication if you look at it that way. So maybe within your web application, if you identify yourself as a user by typing your username and password in, and then you navigate to a different part of the website, maybe you access a particular members only section, and that's going to add something to your cookie, so your authentication cookie. So that could potentially either give you not the right results you're looking for, or it could find something that you were completely not expecting and some more vulnerabilities. But what I liked is that tool would drop the access every single time and log in again, even though I hammered the shit out of the web application, because I was like spiking my CPU when it was doing that, so that was pretty fun. I don't know, I mean, I could probably talk about all these tools till I'm blue in the face, but I mean,
No, that's all right. Let's continue on the what happens after you get all those positives, all those matches. What happens?
Okay, yeah, that's another interesting thing too. So, just because I see that, like, so this particular window right here is the scanner window, and what the scanner tool does is, as you're browsing the website, or as the tool is spidering the website, if it finds something that it would consider to be a possible injection point, it'll go ahead and it'll try to put known injection. So that's where it's a list of what your vulnerabilities on the website are. And if you were to bring this little drop-down box here, it'll show you the full URI path of where the actual vulnerability is. So what I had to do is, just because I have this here that says, like, yeah, right here, cross-site scripting vulnerability, like, just because it says it, it doesn't mean that that's an actual vulnerability. So what I have to do is I have to go to that particular place in the web page, and I have to manually test to make sure that that is indeed a vulnerability. Because you'd be worthless as a security individual if you just ran the scanner and submitted a report. That's called a vulnerability scan. That's not a pen test. That's not a true assessment. Because just because it says that it has a vulnerability, it could see that the parameter was accepting a potentially vulnerable piece of injection, and then maybe they have a WAF, or they have some really good Apache food, and it'll redirect you to, like, the homepage. And what'll happen is you'll get a 200 OK. And sometimes these scanners, all they're looking for is a 200 OK. So, like, hey, did I get the page? Oh, if I got the page and it's vulnerable. Well, no, it's not, because there's no vulnerability. If it's redirecting me to the homepage after I try to do SQL injection, that doesn't mean that they have SQL injection. It just means that there's, they probably have a WAF. They probably have a.
Oh, don't worry. Just read
some smart, some smart HT access rules or something like that. What else? Tell me.
Was Burp Suite the leader on every one of the metrics other than reporting?
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
no,
there are some.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not false positives.
Oh.
NetSparker took false positives.
Oh, okay. By how much?
So, I'd say, from percentage-wise, Burp Suite probably had about 25% false positives. NetSparker probably had about 5%.
Wow.
So it was like a pretty significant.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Like, and that's one thing that I went to their website. Like, before I did the test, like, I had heard about NetSparker in passing, and they had, they always say, oh, try my free sample and all that stuff. But like, the free trial is like, it's crappy. Like, you can't do anything. But what's up, man?
I was going to have another question for you. Looking at the output of the three tools, was there one that was better output maybe for an executive risk team versus a developer team?
Yeah.
Which one was better?
So what else I'm saying? So the HP Web Inspect, I felt like would have nailed all of those things. So I can hand this report to an executive team. Oh yeah.
Repeat the question, please.
So sorry. The question was, do any of the tools have a better capability towards producing reports for maybe an executive security team versus a development team versus maybe an internal security team? And the answer is yes. The tool HP Web Inspector, as I mentioned, it has these very, very granular, detailed reports that, for instance, like I know Patrice says PCI compliance. I went in there and I hit up every single PCI compliance report that I could see, just so I could see the type of stuff that she has to deal with. And I'm just like, oh God, I don't know how you do it. Anyway.
But that's pretty important,
right?
If you're in an enterprise and you have right. Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, and I think one of the best things about the HP Web Inspect reports is it's not only going to give you a very detailed technical overview of whatever the vulnerability is, it's going to attempt to give you its best decision or remediation tactic. And the remediation test is one thing, but it'll also tell you, look, you can sanitize your input like this, or you can use this, or you can use that as a mitigation tactic. So I was just like, this is awesome. If you're a red team guy, if you're a blue team guy, if you're a decision maker for security, based decisions, it was a very, very awesome. As far as reporting goes, absolutely.
So as far as the detection part in the
back to the oh, there we are. That's the second college that we evaluated, correct?
We have NetSpark here, and then
Or was it NetSpark? NetSpark is also new. This is the first year that they participated. Actually, they're pretty good, in my opinion.
Yes.
We would like to thank them for participating, and actually they came out actually pretty good. That's Spark.
This that you're looking at right here, this is the HP Web Inspector interface. Like my whole thing is like it gives you this like this is your main focus. Like when you're dealing with Windows products, like when you have a window, there's usually a chunk of that window that's supposed to be your main focus. But like in this little window, you have like, oh, here's your criticals, here's your high vulnerabilities, here's like stuff you need to look at, and here's stuff that maybe may or may not be a vulnerability, or maybe something just that an attacker could gain a foothold over. But my thing is like I felt like a lot of the features were lost in the menu, in the menu bar. HP Web Inspect has it. I feel like it's a whole separate product, but they just kind of have it jumbled into HP Web Inspect. It has like a whole interface where you can do fuzzing and like just bring out SQL injections and focus on SQL injections and try to fuzz specifically for those types of vulnerabilities. So it was interesting. I kind of marked that.
Fortify and this and that, it's all put together.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, I kind of felt like that to me was a negative point. Like it was a great feature, and I thought that it was something that like everybody should have known about, but they don't highlight it at all. They hide it away in this menu here that you got to drop down and go and And I was like, man, this thing is awesome. Why don't you feature this? Like you got this whole blank thing here. Scoop this over and put a chunk right there or something. Whatever. I don't know. Front end development is whatever. That's not what I'm arguing here, but I just feel like somebody who, like a person who would really be able to leverage this tool a lot, it requires training. It requires, you need to sit down and learn about this tool. Burp Suite, on the other hand, I could likely give you a 30, 45-minute presentation on, and you guys will be good, and you'll know how to use every feature within Burp Suite. So, again, that's kind of like a trade-off. But if you're a huge organization and you have enterprise servers, you're going to probably take the time to spend, when you buy this software and you buy all this, you're probably going to spend money on training so that your individuals can know how to use it. So it's definitely a way bigger investment, for sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like Burp Suite, there's a free version and there's a paid version. Are there free versions and paid versions of all of these tools, or is that something?
So the question was, he said he's familiar with Burp Suite. Burp Suite has a free version and a paid version. What he asked me was there a free version and a paid version of all the tools that I use? And the answer is yes. I believe. Oh, actually, no. HP Web Inspect doesn't have a free version. Was it worth it?
Did the free tool produce?
No, never. Not even close. The free tools would not even get near what the paid-for tools would do.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's please emphasize that.
Yeah. So with NetSparker, for instance, when you open it up, it's really nice. It's pretty, but like right away when you start to scan, it says, well, you're limited to only 10 scan sites. Like right away, like straight out of the gate. And then the whole like vulnerability identification tab is just grayed out, and like when you click on it, it sends you obviously to buy this product. So at the end of the day, it's like a Windows version of Dirtbuster or a Web Spider. Like you're just gonna map the application with a free version. And I found that like with Burp Suite, like Burp Suite I could see it as a viable free tool because you wouldn't be using it for vulnerability scanning. You'd be using it for proxy pivoting and then viewing responses and requests that are sent between the two. But at the end of the day, if you compare the free version of Burp Suite to the paid version of Burp Suite, it's like it's a no-brainer. Like all of the features within Burp Suite they get unlocked and you get to use it's just way better.
So as a general point, you would say that it's worth making the investment in a vulnerability product. Like sometimes there is this I guess perception in some members of the community that you can get away with free forever. So that's actually a takeaway from this.
Here's why I think that's an important thing is it possible? Yes. Is it practical? No. Because when you're in a corporate environment and let's say you have to do security research, if you have to spend 5 hours trying to figure out how to get your open source tool working, that's workflows that you wasted that you could have potentially been, you could have already fired your scan off and you could have been doing something else. So I absolutely think that the money that you're going to spend towards these products, if you're in that type of environment, it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely worth it. Absolutely. But don't get me wrong, because I am a big fan of open source tools. I think that a good researcher and a good security individual will do both. They'll use this tool, and then maybe they'll cross-validate it with an open source tool as well, just so they can have their sanity. So that's that was my takeaway as well.
All right. So as far as, let's talk a little bit about NetSparker.
Sure.
So we can see the,
Right here.
yeah, NetSparker. Yeah. Any questions so far?
I don't know. You guys have any other questions that I can answer?
How much do they cost?
You know, it's funny. That's one thing that I didn't get any info on. Nobody told me the prices.
Well, for
How many servers are scanned?
I know. Yeah. So this is. So I can tell you. I know personally because I almost bought Burp Suite myself for my own personal, but Burp Suite costs $300 for a year for a single-use license. HP Web Inspect. The reason why they didn't give me any pricing model was because they'll give you a pricing model based on how many servers you have and what types of what you got going on in your environment. NetSparker, I believe, is a flat fee as well, just like Burp Suite. But I believe it's a little bit more expensive than Burp Suite. As far as value goes, Burp Suite was just it's $300. It's got all the features. It won this particular P0wn OFF. It costs less than HP Web Inspect. So,
right, but if you have a tool like that in an enterprise environment,
right.
and you have a compliance department that is all over you because you need to produce a report,
Bite your tongue.
it's important to make that.
It sounds like you know a lot about this.
It's important that if you're in a corporation that you are interacting with the different departments and you gotta produce a solid report that may go to legal, you may want to think about doing the investment in an enterprise type.
I can't stress how awesome it was disheartening because I have a lot of respect for Burp Suite, and that's a tool that I frequently use throughout my travels, and just the fact that it doesn't really have any reporting, it's kind of like, man, you guys would corner the market if you did a little bit of work on your reporting. But it's not
Plus, the other thing for Web Inspect, even though the price is more, because it's more interactive with the developer, then you can actually bring security into your development cycle a lot sooner and presumably offset the cost of the product.
That's a very good point. Yeah, you don't have to waste workflows trying to compile those reports to see which developers you need to reach out to get all that done.
How about the type of compliance reports? Was there anything into it?
So within the compliance reports, they had obviously the big hitters. You got your HIPAA compliance, you have your PCI compliance, you have your SAS.
Yeah, SAS 70, SSA 16.
Right. I mean. What was great, I don't really know much about compliance, but for me, opening up those little tabs and looking through the possible reports that I could generate, it just made sense to me. So me not having never touched compliance before, just that reporting feature alone was, helping me kind of understand, what do you need this for, what is this for, what type of compliance is this suit, and what's the needs. And so I thought that was cool too. I got to learn a little bit just from, looking at the features. Yeah, definitely.
Since that's can you kind of do a compare and contrast maybe to Burp, since probably that's what people are most familiar with?
Sure. So again, I guess pros cons. Burp Suite's I think one of the biggest qualities about Burp Suite is the fact that it runs on Java. I'm not a particularly big fan of Java, but the fact that it does run on Java makes it that I can use it on Mac, Linux, Windows very easily. NetSparker, since it is a new product, it's on Windows, and they've targeted that environment very specifically. You can see it in the reporting, the ability that it would have caught, a lot better. And even its version of the macro. Remember, I told you that each one of these applications have a macro function. So I feel like with NetSparker, they have a really good thing going on, and they've they've done a lot of work on their Windows product. And me being somebody who's kind of like, F Windows all the time, you guys all know me. So I was actually really impressed. And, I just felt like the fact that NetSparker has like such low amount of false positives, it just like, it makes me like want to trust the product even more. And this is a product that's like relatively new. So for you to say something like you'd have a high confidence level of trusting that software to produce the right vulnerability scans that you're looking for, especially for kind of being the new kid on the block, I think that's great. And I think that's something that they should be like kind of like up in arms about. Like we're new, but we're great, and we got look at this. So
now I have another question. She just brought something up that is Windows. You said, right? So if I am a analyst, right? If I am a person that maybe I'm not that strong on VA or open source tools, what product would be probably the best for me? And I use Windows because my company has a corporate OS profile that I have to use.
With the least amount of training, NetSparker.
Okay.
With training, Web Inspect. And then I'd say Burp Suite would be last. And the reason I say that is because like Burp Suite, you have to dig into the feature to learn with it back, but HP Web Inspect, since it's Windows and it's very GUI driven, it guides you through. Like you can with Web Inspect, you can fire off a scan in like, I think, here's my subnet, next. What type of vulnerability scan do you want to do? Next. Start. And now Burp Suite, right click in there, start firing off the spider. So I feel like Burp Suite is a lot more like interactive. There's a lot more user input that you're gonna have to sit there and you're gonna have to, set it up to do what you want it to do. Where Web Inspect, I could click, next, done, go, get it done. Same thing with NetSparker. The exact same thing. It scans the whole application for you, builds out the map, and then based on building out the map, it'll start doing the vulnerability. So it's an interesting feature. Maybe scan towards this one vulnerability, make your scans a lot quicker because you're going to leave out some of the stuff that's not as important, or not that it's not important, but it's not what you're trying to focus on at that moment. Where NetSparker and Burp Suite, they didn't have that. They're just going to scan everything, they're going to do everything, and they're going to just show you everything. So it's kind of cool that you can play with the accuracy. That was pretty cool.
Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay, excellent.
Any false negatives? You said the false positives were pretty good on.
Oh man.
2 of them were consistent.
Oh yeah. There was they were very consistent about that. So that was one thing. But again, I intentionally did not use custom applications. So it was likely going to be easier to spot those vulnerabilities just because it's kind of for next year to try to consider scanning that you want to do like a custom application and then really put them to the test. False negatives. That might be anything else?
Anything else that we can look at the report? We actually we actually rated it. It was rated, and then at the end, obviously we concluded about it and how important it is that the use of these products. And there you go. We placed the entire data.
So yeah, this was all the data that I basically. So yeah, I mean, you guys are welcome to. If we talk to Hattrick, hopefully you can put it on the website. Okay.
Okay, I tweeted. We'll put it on the website.
I'd appreciate it if you guys could retweet that for me because that'd be some awesome grassroots social networking.
So it is going to be on site.
It's already. I tweeted it via Hackmiami, so it's out.
Questions that you want to ask me about, like maybe how to set up the type of lab that I use to get this, or how to do some nice social engineering to reach out to vendors and get some. That's kind of a skill that I picked up. So you guys are absolutely welcome to hit me up. Asor.com is my website. You're welcome to give me some.
Any other?
Don't go there.
Any other highlights of the report?
I just really feel like.
How about hardware-wise? Do you feel you needed a more powerful laptop?
The one that I felt like could have used a little bit more power was the HP Web Inspect, just because, like I said, you have to have a SQL database that you deploy with it. So, like, the first couple of days, I kind of fumbled around with the amount of RAM and having to give. I want to say I had to end up giving the Web Inspect like 8 gigs of RAM for it to play nicely and to be able to work. But yeah, I mean, I think again my biggest takeaway was that like it was really fun to do all this, and it's just beneficial, you know. I mean, it's really a no-brainer to like want to do these. You're helping the community, you're helping yourself. You know, the potential for somebody to use this information, you never know who's gonna, you know, find some corporate exec could, you know, out there browsing Twitter and like, hey, well, you know, he's got these ratings and I'm reading this report, and they make a purchase based on this paper. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, I definitely say if the opportunity comes up again and any one of you guys would be offered the chance to do it, I think you should jump on it because it's awesome. Thank you, Rod, for giving me the opportunity to work on here, man.
Any questions? All right, then thank you.
All right,
Yes.
guys. Oh, this is nice.
All right, anybody has any questions or any?
So, talk about next meeting because next meeting don't we usually do the town hall?
Yes.
Or we'll
Yeah.
get together.
You want to? All right. So, for those who have been coming through the entire year, if you are new, please keep coming. And meeting, I believe, is going to be on January 16th. Our first meeting for what you want to.
Where is Southwest 6th Avenue?
And what type of research you do, for example. If you would like to research in a certain subject, and you have any proposals of what you want to present on, you don't have to be an
4th
expert.
Avenue is by my house, and then you go to the other side,
You don't have
and
to be an
that's
expert or a professional in the subject that you want to present. All what we ask you is that you obviously do a decent research, and then we take it from there. Any ideas as far as the conference goes or presentations, then will be appreciated. The rest, I mean, if you have anything to say or ask me, then I'll thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
January 16th is a Friday.
January 17th, yeah. January 17th.